All right. Okay. Hi, Leo. That's you, Leo. This is Star Illumination. This is your love and relationship report for December 2017. We've done this before. You know the drill. Watch for your sun, moon, and rising, and make the best of it. Reinterpret however you want. There's going to be no jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, none of it. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as we can and just tell a story from a broad perspective of love and healing, and the healing power of love. Let's just see what's going on. Cards were already well shuffled in advance. We're just going to the last second while I do my little jibber jabber to get things rolling. Now, we are also reading on the understanding that we have a crucible spread here, where there's you, the significant other, and the energy of the relationship itself, which has its own integrity, its own identity, and it needs maintenance just like a car or a house or a business, okay? So healthy people in healthy relationships invest in their relationship. The last thing they do is put everything on autopilot. So let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on, Leo. Oh yeah, you should probably watch the North Node Leo playlist for you guys, because you're under that vortex right now of the massive global Leo North Node dynamic. Okay, so that's one thing. Jupiter in Scorpio is going through your, let's see, fourth house. Yeah, it's going through your fourth house of home, family, foundations, security, stability, where you sleep. So there might be some huge upheavals and changes going on for you at the foundations and the home base of your life. But please understand, with Jupiter and Scorpio, it's ultimately for your best outcome. It's the energy of benevolence, and at the highest levels through Scorpio, the lens of Scorpio, it's about transformational healing. So if things need to be shed in order for new things to happen, then so be it. It's ultimately very, very healing. Okay, what else is going on? Big shifts happening. Saturn moving into Capricorn. And then we've got this month. Actually, this month could be kind of maybe quite lighthearted and fun for you, because the Gemini Sagittarius new moon is kind of in sync with you, and the new moon at the end of the month is going to be in sync with you, very supportive. So let's just see what happens. It's like kind of a mixed bag. There's a lot of oh no stuff happening, especially by the end of the month and opening into January. Huge shifts and changes. But it's ultimately all for your good, and it does affect love and relationships, okay, for all of us. Not just you, but the significant other as well. So we are talking about chosen relationships here, okay, where people are consciously, to some degree or other, relating to each other by choice. Okay, let's have a look. Sorry, I was getting carried away there. Some people say I talk too much. Some people, they want to hear all the details. I don't know what to do. I do what I can. All right, here we go. This is you. This is you and your love energy. This is a significant other, a chosen one, someone with whom you are relating closely. Here's deep into you, deep into the other, and here is the relationship status itself. So do you see the crucible here already? This is a very strong structure, hopefully, in a very loving relationship that can withstand immense pressures, the alchemical changes and the fermentations and the distillations that happen inside a relationship as we intimate and separate in an endless wave, endless ocean waves of intimacy and separation. This is more like the momentum where things are heading. And we're going to look at this in just a second, circumstantial energy, which is, like weather. You're going to make the best of it, Leo, because you're always looking, wanting the best in everything and everybody, and for yourself too. You are that light, okay, that everyone else kind of looks up to. What have we got here? So with the Two of Pentacles, you might be doing a really, really good job of keeping it together, or there's an indication that you are let's say, struggling to keep it together under conditions that are emotionally perhaps very, very challenging for you. And that wouldn't come as a surprise at all. With Jupiter in Scorpio, technically speaking, in astrology, that would be a hard square. So over the next year or so, you might be going through these very deeply challenging, let's say, aspect patterns, which will ultimately be for your own best healing in terms of love and healing. It's just that it might, for Leos, it might be a little uncomfortable, as opposed to maybe like a Cancer or a Pisces or something like that. So anyway, with this energy here, Two of Discs, it's just like the day-to-day practical reality is sort of like, Leo, you got to keep your eyes open just to get through the month, okay? Because there's stuff going on deep, deep in the background that needs to be allowed to occur. In other words, there are like deep waves, deep currents going on, and it's very important just to simply maintain your equilibrium, maintain your balance, your decorum, your dignity, your, regal self as you go through this patch, okay? Because things are going to be very different in January. We just have to get you through December, okay? What's going on? Let's have a look at you. Bammo. Okay, with the star here, my feeling is, again, I'm going to amplify on what I was just talking about, because there are things that might be happening with you, Leo, especially because of this Jupiter and Scorpio thing that's going on, that might really not jar you in a harsh way, but could really disorient you from your normal Leo, bright, confident, radiant self, because you're going to feel it at the foundations of your life, the very pit of your world, whatever constitutes home, family, people, foundations, security, stability, and all that, to the point where it could almost freak you out, where there's no choice of except to say, you know what, it's okay. I'm a Leo, I can handle it. Here's what I do. I trust in the great beyond, because I already know the great beyond has got my back. So we're good. We're good. We're good. We can handle this. That's just Leo figuring it out. What has to be figured out. Thank you very much. So don't worry. With the star card energy here, my feeling for you, Leo, is that somehow or other, you already deep down at the soul level fully understand that something very profound is going to change in your life, in your world, especially when it comes to love and relationship. And then so be it. Just understand that you are guided and you are protected in some way that you might not understand. There is angelic presence, and it is there for your ultimate benefit, okay? Might not make any sense because it might feel very absurd in some ways about what's happening in the hows and whys. You might not even have any language for it. This is the energy of pure knowing without knowing, okay? We can wish, pray, hope, believe, trust, and ultimately we know. And over here, this is you, Leo energy, saying, you know what? I know, I get it. I know that something big and shifting is happening, and I'm just going to have to live with it. I have no idea how, but we're going to figure it out. Thank you very much. Let's have a look at a significant other over here. What's going on? Okay, well, they're minding their own business. My feeling is that with you, Leo, you might be relating very closely with someone who is hard at work, mastering their own self to the point of, let's say, refining and knowing that they probably sense very deep down within you, Leo, that there are some big shifts and changes happening inside of you, Leo, that puts you in a position where it's partly like saying, trusting in the great beyond, trusting in the beautiful, let's just say, like how some people say, everything's going to work out fine. And there's no explanation for it, like someone who comes to comfort you, take care of you, and they don't actually know the answers. You don't know the answers, but they just tell you, and they say, don't worry, Leo, it's going to work out just fine. It's just the way it is, okay? And you just believe it. You just accept that as absolute truth. There's no explanation. There's no logic behind any of it. It's just that someone is saying that, or circumstances can hint that to you, that you are, in your own way, figuring it out, what has to be figured out, even though you might not even know what you're figuring out. But you're doing it because you're trusting and knowing that you're guided and protected. And at the same time, you are relating with someone who actually probably understands all this very, very well from their own perspective. But the reality is they have to mind their own business. And there, a lot of times in relationships, the only way you really know what is going on is by reflection from the significant other. So if you're Leo, you're going through your own, let's say, convolutions and transformations here at the foundations of your life, and there's a significant other here who's perfectly aware of that. You're fully integrated at this level. It's just that they have to take care of themselves in this situation too, because what's happening with you affects them, okay? So there is a team effort going on here where it's obvious that this significant other highly appreciates you and that you highly appreciate them, but there's a lot of, let's say, there's some really, I feel like really big gaps where the big gaps are starting to become exposed to the point where you don't even have language for it. And the only option this significant other has for themselves is to focus on themselves, focus on their craft, focused on really being the best at who they are, and just trusting every day, every moment, every now and again that they are going to get feedback from their environment, their own world, their own people, including you, that gives them affirmation and a reminder that they are being who they are, and that's the best thing that they can be for themselves and for you and for the relationship. It just might feel weird because it might feel like there's a really big gap, so to speak. So in other words, there might be all of this. You might have all of this deep, long-lasting love. It's just that there's a lot of, let's say, upheaval going on deep in the background, and you, Leo, are struggling to deal with it in your own way, dignified, knowing you are guided and blessed. So it puts this energy here of being one thing, it puts it like way over here, where, the love is here, and the love is here, but it will be going through a phase where there's a real, let's say, gap. Okay, let's go deeper. Let's have a look. Okay, well, there we are. Gap confirmed. So if you're feeling like in the depths of a very loving relationship where there is mutual appreciation, mutual understanding, and you have been there for them and they have been for you, and yet deep in your soul, this is you're on your own right now, because they're on their own, minding their business, being who they have to be, on the understanding that they probably sense a deep transformation happening inside of you. And that puts you, doesn't put you, it's because it's already happening. I mean, with the star and the hermit here together, my feeling is that we're dealing with energies that are above and beyond your routine daily capacity to handle, especially in the circumstances of a deeply loving relationship. You might feel like you're way out of your depth, and the only thing you can do is just go along with the healthy things that happen in a loving relationship, like continue to be respectful, kind, courteous, conscientious, observant, caring, affectionate, companionship, all of the really good, very trusting, putting all those really important values and keep those going, even though you might feel that there's a big gap going on. And just trust in the great beyond that there's something going on that is ultimately for your highest good, but it cannot be explained or understood yet. And it puts you in this position of isolation where, you might be, you might see each other every day, in and out, like clockwork, just like, a regular couple. And yet there's you at your deeper level, closer to soul level, where you're actually aware that you are very isolated. And that's the only posture that you can carry for yourself right now as you try to live through this cycle of what the bleep is going on. Because there's no indication of what's actually going on here. It's just that with the Jupiter and Scorpio, I feel as your reader that big shifts and transformations have already started, to the point where it puts you kind of at the mercy of the will of heaven, so to speak. And that might not be fun or comfortable for a Leo, because Leos, you like to be right out there, boss in charge, fully engaged in life, without any sense of ambiguity or doubt about anything. And then have to live in a way where you're kind of resigned to a higher consciousness, a higher way of being that you don't own it, that can be very disorienting. Let's have a look at the significant other. Okay, so with the significant other, they might be in a position where they're perfectly aware of you, Leo, going through I mean, it's like the early days of this year-long transit with Jupiter and Scorpio. And let me just figure out something a second here. I want to figure out about the Saturn in Capricorn. Give me just a moment, please. I haven't done this with the other signs, but I really want to know about this. Okay, so there's Leo. Okay, so for you, Leo, Saturn. Okay, I'm just going to do it. Okay, for you, Leo, this is you. Okay, Leo, Saturn has been here for the last 2.5 years or so, and we're just changing right here, right now, this month, end of December, where Saturn is going to move into Capricorn for the next 3 years. So this is very much to do with your health and day-to-day habits and being of service to the world. And it's going to affect you, okay? It might not be like exactly fun. Health issues could really come to the surface here. And at the same time, you've got this Jupiter and Scorpio thing happening here, okay, in your 4th house, home, family, stability, relationships. And so this change here, this huge change and this huge change that's happening right now are going to affect, you were talking at least a year we're talking at least a year on this and 3 years on this. So big shifts and changes are coming up, Leo, to the point where you might feel it as a deep rumbling, to the point where you can't get out of it, and you can't, of course, because the planets just do what they do, and they're not going to say, oh, it's Leo, of course. We're just going to sidestep. We'll just skip a few signs so that Leo doesn't have to go through their evolution. No, you're going to have to evolve just like the rest of us, Leo, but it might put you in a position where you just have to figure it out on your own and feel it at the deep soul level. That puts the other significant in a position where they might be missing you, because they might be very aware that there is deep transformation and change and shifts happening inside of you, Leo, and inside of the relationship, which is exposing all of the things that like you've shared and loved together, but also the things that didn't work, like, oh gosh, if only this, if only this, if only that, and like coulda, woulda, or shoulda, and just like feeling the loss of love. In other words, as you grow and evolve as Leo, the person, and they are growing and evolving in themselves as a person, and they might be sensing your solitude, you having to go deep within to the point where they are sensing it almost like, hey, where are you? Where are you, sweetheart? Where are you, honey? What's happening? Like, it's like you're here, but you're not here. And they would feel that. They would feel like it's like the loss of the love, the loss of the relationship. Where is it? Where's our little love bucket? Where's our little Ace of Cups that we had when we started? So let's have a look at the relationship itself. So don't freak out about this, Leo. I'm just trying to give you a very broad perspective of the dynamics going on. I'm not a fortune teller. Tarot Lumination doesn't do that. You make your own decisions, okay? You're going to reinterpret this however you want to work for you, what's best for you. Okay, so I feel that in the context of this relationship, it's actually being conducted with, let's just say, maximum dignity. And my feeling is that whatever is happening with you in the ways that we just described for you personally, Leo, it is affecting the relationship overall, to the point where they are kind of a little bit off on their own here, sort of like over here, just trying to mind their own business, take care of their own business, and evolve in their own right through the reflections and feedbacks from other people. That isn't always just necessarily just you and them. So that, like I was saying, there might be a sensation of a gap here. So what can happen is that in a very dignified way, because of, let's just say, circumstantial energy, where there's a lot of pressure, emotional pressure, and let's say deep soul transformational shifts going on here, it puts circumstantial energy almost to both parties, not just you, Leo, but where both parties are just struggling to figure out how to hang on and hold on to what actually works. As as a courtesy, as a loving gesture. What is the loving thing to do here? Love is as love does. It may be that the most loving thing to do is to continue to be very respectful and courteous and loving towards each other in a way that honors and respects and dignifies that which already existed. For example, if there is already a lot of love invested here, and you're both going through deep, deep changes, you going through deep changes, they're having to go through their own stuff and figure stuff out here for themselves in their own way. Still, um, it's like both. It's almost like the relationship itself is now going through what happens in crucibles, where it's a chance for both parties to rise to their highest levels of capability as individual souls, to be able to handle the change and transformation in themselves and each other. Okay, but that could not happen without this relationship. So the value of this relationship is still very, very present. Okay, the value is there. The Three of Pentacles here and the Two of Pentacles in the background over there indicates value. Okay, there's a lot of commitment and value here, and it might be youthful. It might have been some degree of naivety and innocence going in, but it is there. The love is there. It's just that deep changes are happening, inevitable, irreversible changes that are going to affect you very deeply, Leo, over the next year and extended to 3 years. So that it puts both parties, let's say, at the limits of their capacities to maintain their dignity, their honor, their most loving capacities. Okay, so it's like you're going to evolve, Leo. Things are going to change, but that does not mean you're going to abdicate the relationship or just dump them or let them dump you or anything like that. It's much more to do with emotional growth, reaching emotional maturity, even if we don't know the outcome yet. And the emotional maturity comes from the process of what actually happens in relationships, where we intimate and we separate and we find out what doesn't work and what we don't like about the other, and how external events and situations and energies can impact a relationship to the point of deep transformational irreversible changes. And either way, Leo, the relationship demands your dignity, your sovereignty of self, and your honor, and your, let's say, your regal stature, okay? Because that's you anyway, Leo. But the relationship is putting you under pressure to be that, and no matter how challenging this is. And at the same time, they have to do that as well. In other words, both parties are having to be relating in a very, let's say, respectful manner towards oneself and each other. Okay, just as like two presidents would relate, or two kings from two different countries, or a king and a queen from different countries. They're not just going to go to a coffee shop and talk out their problems and curse and swear at each other if they're having a rough time. They do it in a very, very dignified, orderly, very respectful, very loving, trusting environment. Okay, where does this take us? Okay, renewal. My feeling is that it renews a sense of dignity and passion and inspiration, not just in you, Leo, but also in themselves. So even if there are huge transformational shifts in the foundations of your life, and even if that over here, foundations of your life, and also huge shifts in like what is healthy and what is not healthy in terms of day-to-day working habits in your life and your whole world, which includes love and relationship, that can essentially force you. In other words, the movement of the planets, or whatever you want to call it, fate or circumstance, or this relationship, is like forcing you and a significant other to rise to your highest capacities, to the point where, you know, even if there are some huge gaps that are not ever resolvable in terms of like existing home dynamics, family dynamics, foundational dynamics. It doesn't mean that it's just like, if you're gross, you suck. F off. You suck. F off. It's not that at all. There's still a tremendous amount of love. It's a tremendous amount of dignity. It's the energy of agreeing to disagree. That's what I feel here. In other words, there is you living your Leo life and changing and evolving. There's the other significantly doing what they have to do, and it's a work in progress, and they need the reflection from you. They need you still to be there as a mirror, even though your lives might be changing radically and dramatically in respect to each other. So the love that maybe have started like this and may still be like this, and it's like this, it's still possible for two people to love each other very deeply in very respectful ways, without having to, let's say, um, be who you were. I don't want to say broke up or changed and everything, but I feel a deep gap here. And it's beautiful because it actually circumstance forces both of you to rise up to new higher levels of your own being that could not have happened without this relationship. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. I hope I didn't hurt any feelings or trigger any nerves or confuse you. Please reinterpret however you want. Thank you so much for visiting. Bye bye.